Hello, my name is Gail Goldman-Holtzman. I am a partner at Taylor English. I have been practicing labor and employment law for more than 35 years, representing employers in all aspects of the field of labor and employment law, including issues pertaining to the hashtag #MeToo movement, corporate governance, and diversity and inclusion. And joining me today is my partner, Rhonda Parrish. Rhonda, can you give a brief introduction and background about yourself?
Sure, Gail, thanks. As Gail said, I'm Rhonda Parrish. I'm a partner in the TEGC, or General Counsel practice at Taylor English. And what we do is provide fractional general counsel services to companies that might be small but growing, or they thought they needed some help with some in-house work but couldn't really justify making that work. We can provide services to them on an as-needed basis or on an all-the-time basis, and really help clients who need the in-house work but can't really afford to set up their whole department yet.
Well, Rhonda, you've certainly had great experience in the restaurant industry. And so today we're going to focus on some of the challenges facing women in the restaurant hospitality business. So my first question to you is, women represent half of the workforce in the restaurant and food service industry, but not necessarily in leadership roles. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, I think you have to start with history. When you look at how restaurants have typically been set up, the position that might be the executive chef, for example, has often been a male. The back of the house has often also had other male employees. And even more importantly to me, when you look at restaurant companies and you look at the above restaurant employees, and you get into not only the employees, but the executives and the board members, you will see that from a historical perspective, it was often men who made up the vast majority, if not all of the board's membership, and held the executive leadership roles. I'm happy to say that has been changing during my career in the food service industry, and women have achieved seats at the table in the executive ranks of companies, and have been more and more into management roles and on board seats. And so I think all that's helping.
So Rhonda, let me just ask you a follow-up question to that. Have any of the results of these changes you've talked about been measured in terms of yield to the business and the benefits to the business for some of these changes, like more women in leadership and more women on corporate boards?
Well, absolutely. Every study I have seen that's talked about looking at boards and executive leadership teams, the more that you can diversify that field, those positions, and have women, and not only women but also minorities, brought into these roles, the better you're going to be able to represent your customers and to provide them the services they want and need. Whether that customer is you as a CEO or board member trying to figure out what to do best for your employees, or whether it's you as the restaurant manager trying to figure out how best to serve the customers who are coming into your restaurant. But I don't think you're going to find a study anywhere that doesn't back up what I just told you.
That's great. After all, the customers are diverse, so it makes sense that having diversity within leadership and on corporate boards, they'd be in a good position to understand the client base, the customer base.
Yes.
So Rhonda, you mentioned the pandemic. So how did the pandemic impact women in the restaurant industry?
Unfortunately, I think not only can you look at reports that would tell you that women were more dramatically affected, you don't have to think hard to figure out. Some of that was brought on by the women having to make decisions themselves because they had children, and during the lockdown time, during the states making decisions and school boards making decisions, we need to close. Women of necessity had a need to be where their children were to help make sure they were able to continue remotely their education. But if you're in front of the house, on the floor employee, there's no role for you because customers are not coming in. So I think a good part of it was that very thing, that there was just a need to have the employees work someplace else. And I think the other part of it that we've got to take into account as in the restaurant world is that during this time, women and men were also able to look at the job that they were doing and look at what other opportunities there are as we continue to hear about shortages in workers, and figure out, hey, there might be someplace else that I can have more of the hours I want, and I have better benefits being offered to me, and it just makes sense for me to look at this as an option as opposed to going back to the restaurant where I was told these are the hours we have for you. And if you want the job, you better be able to work these hours.
My next question to you is, what can be done to support women in the restaurant industry?
Well, some of the things that I just mentioned, I think we have to look at as restaurant companies and restaurant owners. We need to make sure that we provide as much flexibility as we can from an hours standpoint, so that there are jobs available for me as a restaurant employee that fit with my schedule. I think we also have to look at what are the benefits we're now offering and what can we change, including what sort of healthcare packages are we able to provide our employees? Because I believe one of the factors that's really important in people's lives is making sure they do have healthcare coverage to help them in the event there's an illness in the family or an injury in the family. So I think looking at that is going to be really, really important. And you will see that there's a real touch point with their employees really I believe not only what you tell me, but what you show me. And so I think that there are some real opportunities, again, for women in leadership and for us to find and retain employees.
Our last question will be, right now, so many restaurants are experiencing worker shortages. And does this offer advantages for women?
Absolutely. And I think, again, restaurant companies, even if it's a single owner, single operation, they need to fill their positions. And so there is just an absolute opportunity for a reach out to women to seek them for these roles. Again, keeping in mind the things you as the employer need to be focusing on. But absolutely, I think you will find that women are absolutely fantastic in any restaurant role you want to put them in. Women can do any of them and do them well. And it's such an opportunity for you, the restaurant company, the restaurant owner, to recognize that and to provide opportunities for women.
Thank you, Rhonda, for sharing your experience and expertise. That was so valuable. And for our viewers, thank you so much for watching Conversations with Ted. We hope you'll join us again next time. Again, my name is Gail Goldman Holtzman. I am a partner in the Labor and Employment Practice Group at Taylor English, and we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation.